Hey everybody, welcome back to Talking Cardboard, and welcome back to the segment Let's Talk Cardboard. This is episode number 3. Let's get started. Yes, hello, and welcome back to Let's Talk Cardboard. Just a brief recap, this is a once-a-week segment where I go through the comments in the comment section below each week and pick out some questions and comments from the viewers to then answer and discuss in the following episode the following week. So if you would like to chime in with your own questions and comments below, feel free to do so, and I will pick and choose various questions to answer in the following week. And you never know who you're gonna get. It might not just be me every week, but I might get some of the other members of Talking Cardboard involved as well, so then they can answer your questions and their opinions on your comments. So a lot of fun and getting the whole community involved here, and we're just gonna really just keep it rolling here and have this segment go for as long as possible. So a little bit of quick housekeeping here before I get to the comments and questions for today, but I wanted to mention that May 4th, Star Wars Day, is coming up this coming Saturday, and we wanted to do something live for you all, something special, where John from Talking Cardboard and myself will be going through our top 5 favorite Star Wars board games and card games live on the channel on Saturday. So stay tuned for that. We will set reminders here on the YouTube channel for you to tune in for that. Like I said, it will be live. It will be live streamed. We will be recording it and posting it after the fact as well. But if you'd like to tune in and leave some questions and comments while we are discussing our favorite Star Wars games, that'll be another opportunity to ask questions and make comments on some of your favorite games or some other questions you have about the board game hobby or the board game industry or some other brain burner things that we can all think about and discuss together. So we really do want to get the live stream comments going where we can talk back and forth while we are doing our live content. So just keep that in mind. That is this coming Saturday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day, where John from Talking Cardboard and myself will be doing that live. So for today's questions here on Let's Talk Cardboard episode 3, last week we got a comment from Glenn Nystad 8484, and he was asking, why Brass Birmingham over Lancashire? And he does know that Brass Birmingham is my number 1 favorite game of all time, and I don't really mention Lancashire very often. And why is that? Well, first and foremost, the main difference between the two is obviously Brass Birmingham is the newer version of Brass. Brass Lancashire is pretty much a direct reprint or kind of a reconfiguration slightly of the original Brass game that originally came out, I believe, back in like 2007. So Brass technically is an older game, but it was brought to some new life by Brass Lancashire with the reprint that Roxley Games did. And Roxley just rocked the socks off the production. Sorry for the cheesiness here, but rock the socks off the production quality of the new Brass games. The artwork is beautiful, the graphic design is gorgeous, all the pieces are great, everything looks very good on the board. The boards and the pieces and the industries are a little bit dark, but I like that for the theming in this game because it was kind of a darker, dirtier times in the Industrial Revolution with a bunch of smoke in the air, and it was just a dirtier, grittier time period in the world. So I love how that is depicted through the artwork in this game. But then, after Brass Lancashire was reprinted right around the same time, or in conjunction with, they came out with a brand new version of Brass called Brass Birmingham. And this added a few things to Brass to make it a little bit more complex, a little bit more moving parts, a little bit more things going on, but all in the meanwhile still kept it just as streamlined as Brass Lancashire. It didn't really add too much complexity. Actually, quite the opposite. In Brass Birmingham, there's a little bit more openness to the game. It's not as tight of a game. It's not as difficult of a game for a couple various reasons. They simplified. One thing I like about Birmingham over Lancashire is the simplification of the loan system. In Brass Lancashire, one of the main things, or I guess in any of the Brass games, one of the main things is taking loans. And in Lancashire, you could take a loan for $10, $20, or $30, and that would really that would get you variable amounts of income coming in or variable amounts of that loan money coming in. But then that was another added element to the complexity in your decision making, because that dictates how far down your income marker moves, either 1, 2, or 3 steps down respectively. If you take 10, 20, or 30 bucks from the bank. In Brass Birmingham, they simplified it. They just said the only option you have when taking a loan is just to take $30 from the bank and move your marker 3 steps down. There's no longer that decision space or that complexity in decision making with how much money do I take now, waste an entire action on taking that loan, but also that added weight and heaviness and strategic element to how far down do I want to dive into the hole to take how much money? Am I taking too much money to do what I need to get done? Am I not taking enough? Oh shoot, did I just waste that whole action on not taking enough money? So now I need to take another loan action and waste a whole nother action, a whole nother turn on taking more money because I miscalculated the previous time. So I like how the loan system, for example, in Birmingham was simplified so that you're more focused on the game itself and not as focused on, oh shoot, I just screwed up how much money I was supposed to take last turn. Hey guys, do you mind if I take more, go down a little extra? It's just another added element of complexity that I felt was a little unnecessary. So I have here, there are more moving parts, more paths to victory. There's literally more industry tiles that you are putting onto the map, or more decisions to make with your path to victory in this game. But also, another unique mechanism in Birmingham over Lancashire is utilizing the beer and brewery mechanism to sell your goods. It's much more interesting than the ports or the distant cotton market in Lancashire. So for example, in Lancashire, when you wanted to sell your industry goods to the market, you're either connected to the distant cotton market and you're taking a gamble and a risk that there will be a ship there to take your goods because you're randomly flipping over a tile when you are selling to the distant cotton market, and the tiles have a negative value on it. And if that tracker goes negative far enough, you might not even get to take that action. So it was kind of like a push your luck, kind of a risk reward mechanism with that. So that felt a little bit wonky in such a tight strategic Euro. And then the other thing too, with like the ports and the ships, you can sell to ports or you can sell to other players' ports. And that whole thing felt a little bit more similar to the breweries in Birmingham, but just more vanilla. It was just, hey, I'm gonna build a port so I can sell it to that, or I'm gonna build a ship so I can get a bunch of victory points, and oh, you used my port to sell your goods. Okay, well now I'm gonna have to build another port because the marker on the distant cotton market track is too far down. I don't want to risk not being able to do my sell action at all. So that felt all a little wonky. Like I said, in such a heavy, tight, strategic, punishing game where every decision matters, having that sell action come down to a little bit more push your luck didn't feel necessary. It didn't feel right to me. And I believe in Birmingham, the beer and the breweries really fixed that. So now getting into the breweries and the beer mechanism in Birmingham to sell your goods, it's a little bit more forgiving. If you build a brewery on the map, you don't have to be connected to that brewery to use the beer off the brewery to sell your goods. So like I was saying, in Lancashire and Birmingham, you're basically paying the transportation services beer in a form of payment to transport your goods across seas. And you don't have to have a path connected to your breweries to use your own beer to do that sell action. So that was kind of similar to the ports in Lancashire, but a little bit more forgiving, where it could really be anywhere on the map. You can use the beer at any time as long as it's yours. And then the other cool thing too is if somebody builds a brewery and you're connected to their brewery, kind of similar in Lancashire with the ports again, if you're connected to their brewery, you can use their beer to sell your goods as well. But you can kind of see that coming a little bit more in Birmingham. You can kind of plan around that and strategically place breweries just for yourself, or strategically place your industries or link tiles close to other brewery locations where you think your opponents might build. So that's kind of a nice, fun decision space with that. And I guess with that whole dynamic, I really liked the flow of it better. I liked the ease of it better. I liked the understanding behind it better, and the fact that there isn't as much push your luck, but it integrated more strategy. So I really feel like the breweries are a more strategic option than just hoping and praying that you get to sell your goods to the distant cotton market or vice versa. So I could really beat this thing down to the ground many, many times, but those are some of the main reasons why I like Birmingham more than Lancashire. But then having said that, I was at a board game market over the past weekend and I saw Brass Lancashire there, and I almost pulled out my wallet to purchase that version of the game because I do kind of miss having that option to play either game. But I did sell my copy of Lancashire back in the day and bought Birmingham instead and stuck with Birmingham for all the reasons I mentioned. But I do kind of feel that itch to play Lancashire every once in a while, to experience that other side of Brass every once in a while. Maybe if I played it once or twice a year, I would be good. But I just found that Birmingham is one that I want to get to the table each and every week, a couple times a month. And that was the reason why I ended up getting rid of Lancashire and keeping Birmingham. So hope that answers your question. If you have any other follow-up questions on Brass Birmingham versus Lancashire or other games you want me to dive into deeper, let me know in the comment section below, and I will get to answering that within the next couple episodes here. All right, and that was such a long-winded response that I don't know how much time we have left here on today's episode, but I do want to point out to, again, Power to the Meeple 1410 did ask, do you think the golden age of creating new mechanisms in board games has passed? Do you think that time is long gone? And I'm going to quickly respond to this. I have a long response, and maybe we can touch up on this further if you all are curious on board game mechanisms and the golden age of board gaming, and any follow-up responses to that. I will dive into this deeper on the next episode with John from Talking Cardboard. I'm going to have him join me next time, and maybe he can weigh in on this as well. This would be a fun topic for more than just myself to respond to. So I'm going to quickly glaze over my immediate response to this question now, and then have John join me for a more in-depth conversation next time. But I really went back and forth on this one. The long and short of it, my response is yes. I do think the golden age of creating new board game mechanisms has pretty much passed. We had a good run there for the last 10 to 20 years where it felt like each and every month there was a brand new mechanism coming out that just really blew our socks off. And that was very unique and new and interesting. And you just don't see that as much in the last 5 years, or we haven't seen it as much in the last 5 or 6 years. So I do believe the golden age for it has somewhat passed. Do I think that there could be another resurgence of another golden age of new mechanisms? Yes, I do believe that is a possibility. My initial response to this question was no, I don't think it is past. I think it's ever evolving, but after further thinking about it, I do think that the golden age of it has pretty much passed. And I said here, I do agree that new games tend to improve upon old mechanisms and or mix many mechanisms into a single game to make it interesting. I think there are creative ways these mechanisms continue to be adapted to make things fresh. So again, in the last 5-6 years, you've seen a lot of mechanisms, more than one mechanism being integrated into a game and making it fresh. Whereas back in the day, when Dominion came out, it was just deck building. Just the deck building mechanism, and that was new and fresh. And then you have other games, other worker placement games that just sending your workers to a location to take an action, that was new and fresh. But now you have games like Dune and Dead of Winter and Lost Ruins of Arnak, where now they're combining deck building with worker placement and also adding a twist to it where you can't send workers to certain locations unless you have that particular card in your hand. So you are deck building around the decision space of placing your workers on the main board to do actions with them, along with comboing that with the cards you have in your hand and vice versa. And those are mixing those two mechanisms together. And there are many other games mixing multiple other mechanisms together. We see it all the time. Hand management and area control. Trick taking and area control. The new Arcs game coming out soon from designer Cole Worley and Leader Games, that has a twist on trick taking as well, with many other things going on. So those are just a few examples of how games are mixing and matching and integrating multiple mechanisms into a game. And then you're seeing also the flip side of that, if there is only one mechanism in a game today. So if it's solely a worker placement game, the designers are finding unique ways of making that interesting as well. So for example, Raiders of the North Sea. You put a worker on a location to do an action, you pull a different worker off a different location on the map to then do that action. You get 2 actions on your turn, but one has to be placing, one has to be pulling off the map, and those are your actions. So that's very distinct and unique. And that's just an example of just straight worker placement, but adding a twist to that worker placement to make it fresh and interesting. So those are just some examples that I came up with off the top of my head. Again, I want to dive into it deeper with John from Talking Cardboard on the next episode this coming Saturday. We're going to stream it live and hopefully get you all to weigh in on the discussion in the comment section as we are streaming that. And looking forward to the next episode of Let's Talk Cardboard. We did get another comment from one of our viewers, Jacob Ramirez-Li9DT says, top 5 games where you feel like you're experiencing the theme. So Jacob, for example, in one of our previous episodes, really liked that I was talking about not only my top 5 worker placement games, but also how the worker placement integrated the theme into the game itself. And I think this is kind of a play on that from what he's describing is he would like to see my top 5 games where I feel like you're actually experiencing the theme while you're playing the game. So that's normally not quite my cup of tea because I love Euro games. I'm not as much of like an Ameritrash gamer where you see more of that theme come through, but I do like trying to find a theme, even if it's not present on the surface, trying to find a theme within a Euro game that I can see happening within the mechanisms and within the gameplay. So that is definitely an interesting question that I'd really like to respond to in the next episode of Let's Talk Cardboard. So I have it written down here for next time. So again, if you like what we're doing here on the channel, take a quick second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out a lot. And until next time, you all have fun gaming and enjoy your day.